To my channel. So in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this two-piece so easy, but for the kimono it's going to be looking a little bit fitted, right? So I'll still make a different video on how to make the big long kimono, but for this one it's going to be slightly fitted because the pant is wide leg. So the first thing you're going to do is to get your fabric, fold it into two. You see, I'm starting with the upper part, so this is folded into two, this is folded into two, and then the length I have here is just basically the length of the Akara fabric, which is 45. I'm going to be using this to turn it over my seam allowance and also the length. So now after that, the width of the fabric here is just the widest part of my body, which is my hip, and then plus extra, you can do extra 2 inches, 1 inch of ease and 1 inch of seam allowance. But since I'm managing my fabric, I just did my hip divided by 4 plus half an inch of ease and then 1 inch of seam allowance. So now the next thing you're going to do is go up to the shoulder, divide your shoulder measurement by 2, and then you're going to mark that. So for me, my shoulder is 16 divided by 2 is 8. Come down here, mark 1 inch of shoulder slope, and then you're going to take your bust measurement, divide it by 6, then add 1.5 to it. That way you can get what the armhole will be. So for me, I'm going to be using about 9 inches here, and then I'm also going to go ahead and connect it all the way to the top for my armhole, right? And then here I'm going to add my bust measurement divided by 4, which is going to be 10.5 plus extra half an inch of sewing ease and then 1 inch of seam allowance. Like I said, do 2 inches, but I'm managing fabric, that's why I did that's why I did half an inch of ease. But what you should do is actually your bust divided by 4 plus 2 inches. So now I'm going to also come down here, mark. Then I'm going to mark my shoulder to the waist, which is going to be 17.5. And then I'm also going to mark the shoulder to the hip, which is going to be at 25. And then the waist divided by 4 would give me about 8.5. And then I'm going to add 2 inches to this part here because I have enough fabric to do that. I'm just going to do 2 inches here. And then on the hip, the same thing, hip divided by 4, which is going to give me 12. And then I'm going to use everything I have here, which is 1.5. So I'm just going to connect this all the way straight down, but from here now I'm going to connect it to the waist and here to the bust. So guys, this is it. So like I said, this is just going to continue straight here, so there's no need to move the line. This is already straight going down. So once you've done that, the next thing you're going to do is to give it a curve by the armhole here. And then after that, I'm just going to come up here now to the neckline, and then I'm going to mark 3 inches of neck width. So what I'm going to mark here is 3 inches here, and then from this shoulder slope now, the 1 inch here, I'm going to connect to this point. You see, I'm going to connect it all the way to this point. So this is my neckline, and then I'm going to come down here by 1 inch for the back neckline, and then 3 inches for the front neckline. I'm going to connect it this way and then also this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first cut off the back, cut the two together, right? But I'm going to leave the front neckline the way it is, and then I'm going to cut all the way out. So now that is done, you see, I'm going to remove this, and then I'm going to take away one piece for the back and keep one piece for the front. So the one I'm keeping for the front, what I have to do is just to come down to the waist, which is this center line here. I'm going to mark 1 inch here, and then I'm going to go down with this 1 inch all the way to the end, right? So this 1 inch, I'm going to try to blend it down all the way down to the end of this fabric because I'm going to be cutting it out. And then these 3 inches of neckline, I'm going to try to connect it to the 1 inch of the waist. So connect the two of them together from here all the way to this point. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut all this part of it out. So guys, now that I've cut out that piece, the next thing you have to do is, remember for the armhole, the front armhole, you always have to take away like half an inch by the center part here so that your sleeve can relax better. So I'm just going to connect it this way. Just come in half an inch here and just chip out a little from the front sleeve. This will help your sleeve not to bulk up in front. So I'm going to cut this out. So now you see we have both the front and the back, right? So we have 2 pieces for the front, 1 piece for the back. So all I have to do now is just to go ahead and join the shoulder to the shoulder. So open this up now, and then I'm going to take 1 piece of this, join it to the shoulder on this side, 1 piece of it, and then also join it to the shoulder on this side. And then let me show you guys how we are going to cut the sleeve and then cut what we are going to use to finish it up. So guys, this is the sleeve here. So basically I just folded the fabric into 2. The width I have here is just my armhole divided by 2 plus like extra 1.5 or so, or 2 inches, just to be safe. So now the next thing I'm going to do is come down here by at least 4 inches down here. As you can see, my sleeve is not that long because I intend on adding extra fabric to this. I'm going to be, except you can just make your sleeve long and then use the fabric to, I don't want to use the same fabric at the end. I want to add like black to it, black around the neck and black at the bottom. So that's why I made the sleeve not too long, because I'm still going to be adding extra like 2 inches of black to it. So now I came down 4 inches down here. I'm going to rule the line all the way across, and then I'm going to mark it all the way this side. And then I'm going to find halfway through this line, which is going to be about 12 inches. So I'm going to find halfway is 6, connect it half this way and then half this way. I'm just going to leave the end the way it is, or if you want to narrow it, you can just go ahead and do maybe 10 inches, right? And just do 10. That way, when you take away 1 inch of seam allowance, you're going to be left with 18. Because remember, this is kimono. The opening of the sleeve still has to be big. Or you can just measure on yourself. Maybe you want to do 16, or maybe you want to do 9. It depends on you. Mark that here, and then you just go ahead and connect it from this point here to this point. So now the next thing I have to do is just to go ahead and cut this sleeve, and then I'm going to go ahead and join the body of my kimono. So guys, this is what I'm using here. As you can see, I cut a lot of it here. So this is actually on a fold. So I'm going to use it. It's 5 inches of width. So I'm just going to take it the way it is now, and then I'm going to fold it into 2 and use it to line the neckline all the way, and then use it at the end of the sleeve. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up my kimono top, and then we'll come back and do the trouser. Guys, this is it here. I've gone ahead and joined mine. So basically how you're going to do this is just come to the edge. After you folded the piece you're using, you can use the same color as the fabric. So you're just basically going to come to the edge of this cloth here. You're going to sew it this way all the way around to the other end, right? And then once you're done, you're going to now flip it. So you're going to take, let's say this is the edge here, you're going to take the 2 edges together and join it all the way to the other end. And once you're done, you're going to now flip it back this way and top stitch it. If you look closely, you'll see that that's how I did mine. You will see the top stitch on top of this part here. So you're going to flip it out this way and then top stitch it this way. So that way it will lay flat. So you see the stitch all around back to the other end. And then once you're done, I did the same thing on the sleeve, closed up the side and folded the edge of the cloth. So that's basically it for the jacket. Now I'm going to move over to the pant. So basically this is just a basic pant that will have band in front, elastic at the back. If you want, you can make yours with zip, which I also have a video on my channel. So basically the first thing you need here is your hip measurement divided by 4. So my hip divided by 4 is here. Then I'm going to add extra 3 inches plus then half an inch of ease. It depends on you if you want it fitted, you don't need to add ease. But I want mine with a little bit of ease. So that is going to be 12, and then plus half an inch of ease is going to be 12.5. Mark that here. I'm also going to take that same 12.5, mark it at the top here. But note that my pant is not going to start here. I'm going to cut off this excess, this black part here. The hem of this cloth, I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to be cutting off this part, so let me just cut it off because I will not need it on my So now I've cut that out, right? So my pant is starting here. But guys, remember, you're going to have a band, right? So since I'm going to have a band of, let's say, 2 inches here, so I'm going to put it at 1.5 because I need half an inch of joining the waist here. So let me go ahead and mark that half an inch first. So I need half an inch to join this into the band, right? So that means I'm going to place my tape at 2 inches. That's after that line of the half an inch. So from the half an inch, my tape is on 2 inches because my band is going to be 2 inches. And remember, that 2 inches is going to be covering also this band. And this is our seam allowance for the band. So that means my crotch now, like I said, is going to be my hip measurement divided by 4. So that is going to be somewhere here. So I'm going to just go ahead and mark that now. Guys, I already have a detailed tutorial on how to make pants here on my channel, several videos here. So this is done. So guys, now the next thing you have to do, you see what I did here? I placed my tape back again, starting at this part here, making sure it's at the 2 inches mark, right? The line for the seam allowance is at the 2 inches mark. I marked my waist to my crotch, which, like I said, is just my hip measurement divided by 4. That's how I got this here. And then my waist to my my thigh, your thigh measure, which is most times 3 inches below the crotch line. So 3 inches below this line of your crotch is where you will have it. So that's 15 for me. And then the next thing you have is my waist to my knee, which is at 24, and then the rest is the length of the pant. And then you will see there's a center line here now, because we are not making this like a flare palazzo. We are trying to make it almost like a straight leg, right? So what I'm going to do is, what I did here is just to measure what I have. So like I said before, this is basically my hip divided by 4, which I got 12 here, and then I added half an inch to it, right? And then there's 3 inches on this part. So in total it's 15.5. That's how I got all the measurements on this line. So what I did is basically place my tape here and then divide it into 2. So that is going to give me about 7.75. So I took that measurement, placed it here, and then placed it to the end and ruled a center line. So now what I'm going to do is, on this part here, I'm going to take away 2 inches here. And then I'm going to take away 2 inches here. It depends on you how you want the leg of your pant to be. If you want it like really big, you can just cut it straight this way. Or if you want it less narrower, you can do 1.5 away, 1.5 away. So me, I'm just using 2 inches. There's no reason for that. So I'm just going to do again 2 inches on this other side too. You see? So now all I have to do is just to connect from here. It depends on you. If you're asking how I got these 2 inches, you can just measure the round end of your pants, how you want the opening you want there. So just take this way, because remember, we're still making a palazzo pant, but it's just that it's going to be straight. So you can measure round the end what you would want to have the opening, what you want it to be, and then whatever you get, right, you divide it by 2, and then that's what you're going to place here. So let's say you got 22. So what you're going to have here is basically 11. You understand? So let's say the opening you got is 22, then you're going to have 11 here. So let me go ahead and connect from here to this point, and then I'm going to connect from this point to the crotch. On this thigh measurement, you're going to go ahead and measure the uppermost part of your thigh and divide it by 2 and also place it here. So for me, it's going to be exactly almost the same thing I have on this part. So there's no need to measure it. So I just have to bring down exactly this 5.5 down here again, right? But if it's not the same for you, just divide it by 2, place the tape in between here, place the tape, like let's say what you got is 30 at the uppermost part of your thigh. You're going to just do divided by 2, which is going to be 15. Place half of 15 on this side, which is 7.5, and then half of 15 on this side, which is 7.5. You understand? So now I'm just going to go ahead and connect mine from this point to the crotch, to the thigh line, and then from here to this point, and then down straight. So guys, at this point I just have to start cutting. You see, this is connected all the way to this point. This is connected from here to here, and then from here to this part, and then from this point to this point. You understand? So now let me go ahead and cut. So guys, you see it here now. right? So I'm going to take this pattern now to cut the back. So basically I just have to fold my fabric again into two, and then I'm going to just take this here and place it. So I'm going to place it. So guys, for the back panel, guys, there are different ways you make pants, and any method that works for you is fine. For this particular one, since I'm using elastic at the back, there's a way I'm going to do it. So basically you see my front panel, I've already placed it here. So what I did is I made sure to have about 2.5 inches here. Ideally for a big person you might want to do 3, but I don't want it too high. So because the distance from where your front panel stops, you need to have at least the measurement that you use for the crotch area in front is normally what they put at the top. So that will be 3 inches for me, because that's what I use by the crotch here. But I'm doing 2.5 here because I still know that I will still add band, you understand? So now the next thing I'm going to do is, I already have 2.5 at the top, right? So what I did again is, you have to extend from where the end of this front crotch ends, add extra 3 inches to that. So normally some people, if you want to maintain the opening in front to be the opening of your pant, you can just mark from this point now of this 3 inches line that you've made where your front panel stops. You can just blend it to where your waist to your knee. So let's say my waist to my knee, when we measured it in front, was 24, so which will be somewhere on this line. So what I can do is just blend this line into this waist to knee here. Just blend it into here and stop it. That means I'm not going to have, that means the seam allowance and everything is going to come from the front of this pant, you understand? So you're going to blend in the crotch of the back from this point to here, but I don't want to do it that way. So what I did is, I added after my 3 inches, I just did 1 inch all the way down here. But at least at this point I did at 1.5, because it would be weird to just make it 1 inch and it's going to be too narrow. It won't blend in perfectly. So all I did is, just from this point now, after my knee, I just added 1 inch all the way down. So now, instead of blending it directly into my knee, I'm just going to blend it 1 inch away from where the knee line is, and then the rest is going to just stick straight down. This will help me, so that I want to maintain this opening, but I don't want my seam allowance to still come from this opening. It's going to narrow it way too much. So now I'm going to also connect this line together. And then that is it for that side. So the next thing I'm going to do is, on this part here, I'm also going to add at least 1.5 inch here, all the way to the top, and then bring it down to connect it into this crotch here. And then out here also, I'm going to add, let's say 1.5 again. And then I'm going to connect it from this edge here. This is because, remember, when we're cutting the front, we didn't say anything about seam allowance. So now I'm trying to add in all my seam allowances to the back panel, right? So I'm going to just connect it here from this point here all the way to this end. Just make sure you blend it into this same line, this straight line of your waist, because the sides are supposed to be the same. And then if you look on this side, you will see I have 1 inch all the way down here. And then I'm also going to continue to mark that 1 inch all the way down. So that's going to be something like this. So now all I have to do is just to cut off the excess. So you see what my back panel looks like. There's 1 inch on this side, 1 inch on this side, and then connecting to the 3 inches extension for the crotch, 1.5 by the center back for my allowance for the sewing allowance, right? And then I also have 1 inch here for sewing allowance also. So now let me go ahead and cut it. So guys, this is it here. So basically I joined the two back panels, added a band to it. Like if you look here, you will see there's a dart here, and then there's also a dart here. So this is a very short dart, like 5 inches dart. Let me flip it to the inside so you see. It's like a 5 inches dart on the inside of the pant. This is the back panel, and then there's a center seam here holding it together, you see. So this is basically the back. You join it together here, pick a dart that is just like 5 inches long on both sides, add a band to it. This is it here. And then the same thing, my band is just like about 4 inches of width open. So when you join it, it's going to have my elastic, because I'm using about 1 inch elastic passing inside it. And then the front panel is also the same thing, but there will not be any elastic here. And in this one here, the dart is about 8 inches long. So the dart here is actually longer, 2 darts here, and then the distance is basically from your nipple to nipple measurement is what I use here. So starting from your center seam, you move away like your nipple to nipple measurement, and then you add a dart there. So that's basically what I did after that, and then I added the band. So what I'm going to do is now take the front panel, and then I'm going to take the back panel, pass elastic to pull this together. Guys, people keep asking me every time I teach this, how will you know how much elastic to use? You never know. It's just like you have to adjust it until it fits. You understand? You never know, but it's going to be more less than half of your waist most times, because it's going just at the back and it's already an elastic, so it's going to still stretch, so it can't be half of your waist. So because of the stretchiness of it, it's going to be maybe 2 inches less than what your half waist measurement would have been. You understand? Because of the seam allowance too. So what I'm going to do, it depends on you. Coming to this side, you can form a pocket. You can just cut a lining, join it on this side, join it on this side, cover the bottom and the top part, and use it to form a pocket on the inside. Because this is an Ankara fabric, I never like to use the fabric itself for the pocket, because it has this, it's starch to it, so it will be too puffy. So I normally like to use maybe a lining to make a pocket. So I'm going to just do that, close up the side, and then close up the 2 crotch. So you close up the side, you join the crotch together, close it up, close up this side, close up the side, and your pants will be ready. So guys, like I said, my pants is done. You see, this is the elastic at the back. So if I pull it now, you see, and then this is the length of the pant. So that's basically, like I said, I'm going to link in a detailed tutorial on how to make a pant if you guys would need that. So this is the top, this is the top here. Like I said, you don't really have to do additional color. You can just stick to one color. It depends on you. So like I said, I was managing my fabric, that's why I had to do this. And this is you will need about 4 yards, and this is for extra large size. So I used 4 yards, 2 yards almost for this and 2 yards for the pant. So that's basically, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Please guys, like, share and subscribe. Bye.